Hi everyone, today we're talking about using the zone of proximal development, the ZPD, to facilitate learning in the classroom. So as coined by Vygotsky, the ZPD is the gap between what a student can do independently versus what they can achieve with guidance from a teacher. This zone is optimal for learning, and we are going to be using tools like scaffolding and guided participation, which is basically how we as teachers set up the activity so the students can succeed with assistance. So I chose the ZPD because it reminds us that a one-size-fits-all teaching approach doesn't really work. We can teach within each student's zone, which means we're providing the right challenge level, preventing disengagement and boredom, and we're also promoting social interaction, peer learning along the way. So practically, this means that we're assessing students where they are and then adjusting our support accordingly. Whether it's modeling a math problem, offering sentence starters, scaffolding basically helps students progress, and then peer learning will also play a powerful role. And then eventually, we're going to be looking to remove the help as skills grow so they can learn to do the activity independently. So here's one activity which I based around my own students who I teach right now using the ZPD. So what they can do alone, my students can look at or point, to preferred objects or manned for objects. With support, what they can do is they can participate in structured turn-taking activities using pictures or buttons on their AAC devices, for example, to make requests or responses. What they're not ready to do independently is have an unprompted conversation, reciprocal dialogue, or in this case, turn take independently. So how we're going to set this up is we're going to create a visual turn-taking board, such as you can see in the bottom left, which shows, my turn, your turn. Then we're going to provide preferred toys or objects, stuff we know that the kids like, for example, Legos in this case. And then we're going to use the students' AAC devices or PECs with symbols like I want, more, your turn, my turn, etc. So here's where scaffolding using guided interaction comes in. The child's going to be prompted to request a toy using their communication device. The teacher is then going to model saying, my turn, give them the toy. After a few seconds of play, the teacher is going to gesture or point to the your turn visual and then models handing the toy over to a peer, or in this case, a teacher, right? So if a child is supported to say or show your turn and pass the toy, we might do this with gestures, full physical of the hand, or verbal cues. Now the adult or peer is going to use the toy and then returns it with my turn, repeating the process, right? So again, over time, we are going to look to reduce support, which means reducing physical prompting, fading the verbal cues, fading the gestures, and over time, the student will ideally look to initiate this independently. Ideally, we are going to do this with two peers. Maybe we start with the teacher, fade the teacher, and then use two peers once the scaffolding skill is kind of consistent with the adults. And then here, my works cited. Thank you. Hope you have a great day.